And then, of course, I get a phone call one day that's this is almost 10 years ago now, and says, voicemail on my voicemail, and says, Dr. Carmona, this is from White House personnel. Would you give us a call about a job? And that's exactly what I did. I laughed. And I thought, you know, these cops and firemen I work with will stop at nothing to embarrass me. I figured they were all down at the bar, and they were all laughing, saying, hey, Rich is going to call the White House and ask about a job, you know? So the caller ID had a 456 prefix and a 202 and a 456, and I know that's the White House now because I had it on speed dial, but I didn't know it then. But I called, and the young man said, yes, the President has put out a call, and he will be recruiting for a new United States Surgeon General. We understand you used to be in uniform. You served your country. How would you like to come back? Would you like to be considered? So I held the phone. I started laughing again. I thought, there's no downside. They clearly got the wrong Rich Carmona. It's okay. But I'll go ahead and apply, and in a couple of weeks they'll figure out they got the wrong guy. I'm still gainfully employed, you know, and I'll learn something. So I went into this fully thinking I wasn't going to be chosen. I'm not a political operative. In fact, I'm probably the antithesis of what they want in Washington because I think both sides are equally dysfunctional. And the fact is I've been on record to say that, and so I figured, you know, I'll get a few weeks of interviews. And I started down the interview process, and one morning I wake up, they call and they say, well, would you come to Washington and interview? After telephonic interviews, that is. And I said, okay, if you're paying, I'll come to Washington. So I got to Washington. I started meeting with famous people, including your former governor, who became a very good friend of mine, who was the Secretary of Health and Human Services at the time. And then one morning I got up, and friends are calling me. All my voicemail is overrun, and they say, I finally pick up the phone. It's like 6 in the morning. I said, what's going on? They said, did you get the paper yet? I said, no. They said, you're on the front page. I said, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. They said, no. They listed you as being on the short list for Surgeon General of the United States. I thought, wow, isn't this something? So I spoke to a congressperson who I knew for many years and told him about it. And he said, well, Rich, that's wonderful. That you really should be proud of yourself. But you understand it, that you're not going to get the job, so I just don't want you to be disappointed because you don't have the pedigree. And I said, I understand. I mean, I'm not politically involved. I don't donate large sums of money. And of course, these positions typically go to highly placed people within organizations who have connections. I said, okay. So I went through the process, and finally then one morning I got a call and said, Dr. Carmona, and he gave his name, from White House, we'd like to know what you're doing on March 26th. And as I started to answer, he says, well, we really want to know what your children are doing. And I said, oh my God, they want to interview my kids. I'll never get the job. So as I started to answer, he said, no, sir. He said, we've just finished meeting with the President, and the President has made his decision. And we'd like to know what you and your family are doing on March 26th. The President would like you to come to the White House where he will have a press conference and announce that you will be his nominee for Surgeon General of the United States.